Pelosi and McCarthy have been butting heads first over the first commission proposal back in the spring and now this select committee. So in your mind, do you think that there is any way to create a truly bipartisan congressional investigation into January 6th while Democrats still hold the majority?
No, especially given the fact that the subject of the investigation, or someone who ought to be the key subject of the investigation, Nancy Pelosi, is the Speaker of the House. It was her decision making that is at least in part an issue about how the Capitol complex was protected, or more importantly, why it wasn't protected properly by she and her colleagues. She is responsible, and she ought to be the subject of the investigation. So it's no surprise she wants folks off the committee or not on the committee, in the case of people like Jim Jordan, who would probably ask her the tough questions that I'm raising.
And I know as well, Judicial Watch as well has been looking into, in the aftermath of January 6th, Nancy Pelosi talking to General Mark Milley, trying to get some of the nuclear codes, trying to wrest that power away from the commander-in-chief, President Trump. So also concerning there. Looking at it, we heard the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, saying that if Pelosi doesn't reverse this decision, that he might just create his own Republican-led commission. Do you think that's a viable alternative? What are your thoughts on that?
Look, they're going to be limited in their ability to get documents. And, when you're the minority on the Hill, you're basically treated like a FOIA requester, which is what Judicial Watch already is doing. We're asking for documents from Congress under the public's right to know. And plus, there's the FOIA law at the federal level that we're also asking for documents on January 6th. So we have certainly dozens of requests, multiple lawsuits, both in federal and District Columbia Court here about January 6th. So we're well ahead of any Pelosi commission. And frankly, it's going to be independent groups like Judicial Watch that probably provide a fairer and more comprehensive investigation than, as I say, the compromised Pelosi gang.
Have you heard back at all on any of those FOIA requests? I know it's still quite early, and sometimes it can take years to hear anything back, to get any kind of documents back. But talk to me a little bit about Judicial Watch, and because in many ways, you guys have to pick up the slack for what Congress fails to do and what it's supposed to be, its oversight powers.
Well, the number one difficulty is the Capitol Hill police. It's a creature of Congress, so it's not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. But on top of that, there is, though, a common law right of public access to government documents that we think does apply. So they're not terribly interested in complying with the law there. So we've had litigation, and we're prepared to file additional litigation. We sued separately for documents about the death of Ashley Babbitt. We've asked for the videos. So all of that's under litigation. And if I were Republicans, I would put, and frankly, honest Democrats, I'd be asking, why is it the Capitol Hill Police Department have no transparency programs or standards that every other major police department in the country has? For instance, there was a killing on Capitol Hill. We don't have the name of the person who did the shooting. We don't have a report about that shooting, even though there have been conclusions drawn, we already know, by the Department of Justice. Why the cover-up? And would it be tolerated in any other police department other than one run by Nancy Pelosi? So we're talking police reform. If you're a leftist, well, I have an idea. They've got jurisdiction over one police department that needs to be examined closely. I'm not saying police officers individually did something wrong, but we have no information. Let's get some basic transparency. Heal thyself, Speaker Pelosi.
And I feel your frustration as well. And when I think about it, whether it's the Pelosi-led commission or whether McCarthy does follow through and create a Republican-led one, if Banks and Jordan are not let back in on the Pelosi-led commission, either way, does this seem to you just another way to try and dig in at Republicans by Democrats with midterms coming up right around the corner?
Yeah, I think it's even more dangerous than that. I think the left, and we fought in court over this particular issue. The Pelosi House has taken the position they can issue subpoenas without court authorization for private information on American citizens, specifically phone records. In the case of Adam Schiff, remember, he took those phone records with a subpoena. And they argued in court, because we tried to get access to the subpoena, that Congress has an unbridled right to request documents, get information on American citizens with no court check by the courts. So I would be very concerned, and I would hope honest Democrats, to the degree there are any, involved in this process, and honest Republicans who have their heads screwed on straight, to the degree there are any in this process, uh, provide some oversight there to make sure that Schiff and Pelosi don't abuse their authority to invade the private sphere of American citizens' liberties, which is to be secure in their own papers, and by stealing our records because they don't like our politics.